So Josh, a theme for me at the moment is I'm seeing a huge amount of time and effort and energy and money being spent on marketing and less of a focus on what I would call sales. Are you seeing anything similar to that?
Peter, I think that the world rapidly changed 10 years ago when we all got mobile phones, and the speed at which technology has improved has been super fast. And what a lot of automation has actually done is it's removed humans from transactions. And like the days you'd walk into the record store to go and buy a record, now you just go to iTunes or Spotify and it tells you the next record you should listen to. But yet that human interaction used to be quite fun, and this is where you discover new music that you'd never even remotely thought of. And it happens when we book a taxi now, it happens when we order our groceries online. And so we're now in a position that with less human interaction, that causes really significant issues. What the best estate agents do is that they actually apply not only to the technology, but most importantly the relationship to actually get a result. So what builds a relationship? Well, the most important thing that builds a relationship is trust. And trust is actually built through speed of that communication. So what you've got to do to be a great estate agent is you've got to think about, well, how do I actually have that relationship? Now, I can tell you that the first £1 million that every business turns over will be through relationships. The second million will also be through relationships, and the third and fourth million will also be through relationships. The fifth million might be down to other activities. And what I think happens is that in business is that people go to the shiny and new, and that humans tend to overdo things in their moments of discovery. But I say there is no point focusing on the sauce if you can't cook the steak. There is no point trying to tell me that it's a great cake because you've got great icing over the top of it if you actually haven't baked the cake in the centre. And that's ultimately what needs to happen inside of business, is that there's this big run on spend all this money, time and energy and effort on marketing. Now we've seen in our country, people spend £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 a month on their social marketing aspects, particularly around social media, yet it generates less than 14% of their transactions. But yet 68% of their lead sources actually come directly from past clients, and their current marketing budget towards past clients, zero. Which to me is just a complete misunderstanding, because I think that the industry is really focused on vanity as it is about what actually really makes this business move.
Yeah, I agree entirely with that. And so if you were, let's say, you're doing okay, right? You're a sales agent or a lettings agent. You're doing decent levels of business, but you really want to turbocharge up to the next level. What are the steps? What are the things that you've seen the real great superstar agents? What have been the steps that someone like an Alexander Phillips has taken to go from being a good agent to being number one in Australia? That didn't happen overnight. That was a series of steps. Can you just sort of describe those steps for me?
Oh, without a doubt. The number one thing is to define your service. So are you going to be a 1-star, or are you going to be a 6 or a 7-star agent? To be a 6 or a 7-star standard agent, you're going to need to deliver on that service. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to not only get that intent, but now actually build a team around you. When you build a team around you, what you are doing is you're actually scaling the service and how many clients you can go to serve. You then need to pay particular attention to things like average sale price, volume of transactions, and average fee. And you need to actually set not only an average for each of those, but also a minimum for each of those. Because a minimum inside of a business is just as critical as the average. What we then get you to do is we then get you thinking about how you actually do more of those transactions. So to simplify what it is that you actually do. Now in simplification, it's about making sure that we do exactly what needs to be done to produce a much better result. So we would have a preference towards calling as opposed to emailing. We might speak to our owners 3 times a day, but we have an expectation that they're only going to be on the market for 20 days. And so by putting up a high level of intensity, it's everything that you do when things are quiet that makes all the difference when things are busy. So the consumer can say, you know what, you've done everything that you should have done. And so when the offer comes forward, I can justify selling at that price.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at the market as it is and the changes in the marketplace, new business models coming into play, much more competition, both in terms of traditional agents and also new models such as online only and hybrid agents and various other models. Talk to me about how you see things panning out over the next 1, 2, 3 years. What do you see as being the changes, if any, that are taking place, and what are you recommending to your clients that they should be doing as a consequence of these changes?
My favourite quote is this, Peter, that disruption only occurs if there is widespread customer adoption. So we need to have a look at the difference between noise versus reality. The reality of it is that every single person in this country most likely bought a property through an estate agent, which means that estate agent actually had a loyalty program. We wouldn't have any issue about having to go and generate business. And so really the key is that, like, out of all of the noise, what's actually the reality? The reality of it is that we need to use technology to our advantage. We can do everything in our life off our mobile. Why can't we run our estate agency business off our mobile? And so therefore, from a technology perspective, there is a much bigger opportunity for where the CRMs, whether or not they're actually helping to grow businesses or whether or not they're helping to limit businesses, whether or not they're actually fueling online models as opposed to helping existing and traditional businesses. It's quite controversial to say that, but the reality of it is that we now work in our country on something we call app stacking, where we have particular apps that do particular components of the job so well that they then communicate and talk with the other apps in our app stack to actually deliver on the outcome. For many years, estate agents in our country would think about one CRM doing it all. What we understand is that that will never happen. If we've got particular software that does particular components really well, say the accounting function, things like QuickBooks and MYOB and Xero, for example, then let's let them do the accounting function. And if we've got the very best email program that delivers email so that it looks beautiful on iPhone or on an Android device, then let's use that particular email component rather than having a piece of software that tries to attempt all but accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, thank you.